If you're here, something in you is already shifting an itch beneath your focus, a call you can't quite name. You think about productivity, not just as grinding harder or ticking boxes faster, but as a transformation, a leap that feels impossible. What if I told you that the secret lies not in doing 10 times more, but in thinking like Socrates, asking the right questions to unlock the productivity buried inside you? Today, let us wander through the labyrinth of your mind, not with to-do lists or hacks, but with the whispered power of inquiry, the kind that made Socrates a master of thought, not because he rushed through tasks, but because he redefined what truly mattered. SFX, soft underscore chimes. 3 Socrates taught us that wisdom begins in admitting what we do not know. So, here is your first invitation. What are you really trying to achieve when you say, I need to be more productive? Is it about quantity, speed, recognition? Or is there a quieter desire behind it, a yearning to create space for meaning, for something that feels genuinely alive? You might assume that productivity is about relentless action, keep pushing, keep doing, but I want to challenge that. Imagine if the real obstacle isn't time or energy, but your untamed assumptions about what productivity demands. What if efficiency, in its modern frenzy, blinds you to the questions lurking beneath your surface? Ask yourself, why do I fill every moment with doing? What silent fear does idleness stir in me? How does the endless chase shape my inner world, my identity? These are not easy questions. They unsettle the comfortable illusions of control. SFX, soft underscoring. For Socrates never stopped asking questions to peel away false certainty. He showed that clarity comes not through certainty, but through the courage to confront uncertainty. So, rather than rushing ahead with a checklist, what if productivity starts with a moment of stillness, holding your questions gently, like fragile seeds? The real power is in this maieutic process, the midwife's art of drawing out what grows within. What if, as you wrestle with overwhelm, the answer is not more effort, but a deeper dialogue with yourself? Take a breath. Ask, what are my distractions really telling me? What parts of my life or self am I avoiding by burying myself in busy work? When I say I'm productive, who am I trying to prove something to and why? Notice how these questions widen your perspective. They don't rush you, but invite you to a fuller awareness. This is the first step of the tenfold shift, shifting from doing blindly to doing intentionally. SFX, soft underscore fire underscore crackle. 3 looking back. Socrates held that knowledge without reflection is hollow. Productivity without reflection is the same, it's hollow motion without meaning. So how might you build moments of reflection into your daily rhythm? Moments when you pause and ask, am I moving towards what matters, or just moving to escape the silence inside? What if this pause is not an enemy of productivity, but its secret engine? Giving yourself permission to step away from frantic doing, to consider your questions deeply, might just be the most radical productivity hack you'll ever learn. SFX, gently underscore ticking underscore clock. 3 now. Let us explore how Socrates' style of questioning creates a tenfold multiplication effect, not by doing more, but by thinking differently. Imagine each question acts like a small lantern, illuminating hidden corners where your true priorities dwell. First, identify your assumptions. What defines success in my work? What beliefs about time, worth, or achievement steer my actions? Are these beliefs mine or inherited from others' expectations? Next, question your habits. Why do I return to certain tasks with urgency? Which ones push me forward, and which ones keep me stuck? What would happen if I dropped just one habit that doesn't serve my deeper goals? Then, reframe your struggles. Instead of seeing distraction as failure, what if it's an invitation to discover new needs or unaddressed emotions? Could boredom or resistance be signals, not enemies? Asking these questions isn't indulgence. It's revolutionary. It floods your mind with clarity and aligns your actions with authentic purpose, that S 10 times. More powerful than forced productivity. It's not more work. It's smarter work shaped by wisdom. SFX, soft underscorable underscoring. 2, but there S more we often confuse productivity with the ego's frantic claim to achievement. Socrates pointed out that the unexamined life is like a ship lost at sea, driven by storms of desire and fear. So, what if your productivity struggle is really about negotiating with the ego? Try gently asking, which version of myself am I feeding through my work? The anxious doer who fears worthlessness? The distracted dreamer who avoids commitment? Or a deeper self seeking flow and peace? See how this question invites compassion and honesty rather than judgment, a vital layer for lasting change. Productivity starts shifting when you acknowledge your inner conflicts instead of pushing them away. SFX, ocean waves, for now. The final step in Socrates' tenfold productivity strategy is synthesis, a harmony of inquiry and action. Ask yourself, from everything I've uncovered, what is one small, decisive question I can carry with me each day? One question that can steer me towards meaningful action? Maybe it's, am I acting from clarity or compulsion? Or, what is the simplest step that feels aligned with my deeper values right now? Guard this question like a compass. Return to it often. Let it guide your choices, pruning distraction and multiplying impact. SFX, soft underscore heartbeat. 3 so. What began as a quest for 10 times more productivity ends in a deeper conversation, a movement from friction to flow. From scattered doing to focused being. If you're here, it means you're ready to treat your inner questions as gifts. To see productivity not as a race, but as a dialogue with your own wisdom. Remember, the path doesn't demand speed. It demands curiosity. How might your days change if instead of chasing productivity, you invited your inner Socrates to ask, what truly matters to you now? This isn't about answers. It's about opening the door to transformation that waits quietly in your questions. SFX, soft underscore chime. 4. And so, the tenfold productivity strategy isn't a secret formula. It's an ancient art, a way of moving through the world with inquiry as your lantern and your heart as the compass. The real multiplier is you, the thoughtful, questioning self, willing to see beyond what is obvious and into the fertile unknown. What question will you carry forward? Let us deepen the path we've just begun. If Socrates' method teaches us anything, it is that beneath surface productivity lies a dialogue, a conversation we often avoid because it is uncomfortable, because it asks us to be honest in the most gentle yet relentless way. Now, imagine moments in your day when productivity demands are pressing, when the noise inside your head grows louder than your resolve. At these moments, pause not to sprint faster, but to ask, what conversation am I avoiding? What question am I afraid to answer because it threatens the version of myself I've constructed? SFX, soft underscore heartbeat underscore increasing. 3 fear and resistance often mask themselves as urgency. They trick you into believing that action is the antidote. But what if the real antidote is awareness? What if each task you rush to complete is really calling for your attention to a deeper question about value and meaning? Think about it. When you feel overwhelmed with tasks, what is that feeling really about? Is it the external pressure? Or is it an internal signal, perhaps the boundary between what you truly care about and what you do because you think you should? When you let Socrates' questions guide you here, something shifts. You stop being a slave to the task list and become an architect of your inner compass. Suddenly, tasks either align with your purpose or lose their claim on your energy. SFX, gentle underscore breeze. For this invites a radically different view of your daily struggle, a view where quiet inquiry becomes the root of extraordinary focus, not in a flashy way, but in the steady cultivation of intentional awareness. Socrates famously said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Let me ask, what if the equivalent today is the unexamined task. The unexamined hour filled with busy work? How might your relationship with productivity change if every hour you worked was accompanied by a simple question? Does this reflect who I want to be? Consider, too, that asking questions this way creates a ripple effect. Those questions don't just live in your mind. They start to rewire your very habits. When you repeatedly ask, why am I doing this? And what does this truly serve? You cultivate an inner practice of discernment, the ability to distinguish what consumes you from what nourishes you. This shift has a tenfold effect. Suddenly, time is not a scarce resource to be hoarded desperately, but a medium where your values might take shape. SFX, soft_chime. 2 here S another layer worth unpacking. Socratic productivity doesn't chase linear progress. It embraces what ancient philosophy calls dialectic, the back and forth movement. The give and take between opposite ideas. Can you hold your urge to rush and the need to reflect in the same space? Can you invite tension, not as something wrong, but as the fertile soil where insight grows? By engaging with this tension, you grow what I would call productive patience. It's a patience that is active, not passive, an awareness steady enough to hold your impulses and deliberate enough to direct them. This balance is not only humane, but astonishingly effective. It often leads to breakthroughs not at the moment of frantic doing, but in the quiet resonance of synthesis. SFX, come_rain. 5 Ask yourself now. When was the last time I felt truly productive? Not because I crossed off everything, but because what I did had weight, clarity, and flow. Where in your day can you introduce this dialectic approach, this dance between questioning and acting? In what small practice could you build maybe 5 minutes of questioning at the start of your day? Or a moment of reflection before each task? Remember, Socrates didn't reveal answers. He revealed the power of the question itself. The same power can be your greatest ally, because with the right questions, every action you take becomes a meaningful step, not just a frantic tick on a long list. SFX, win_softly, for sometimes. Productivity comes not from adding new tools, but by stripping away what no longer serves us. What mental clutter, old beliefs, or unexamined commitments keep you from your most fruitful work? What could you release today if you dare to ask, why am I holding this on? Socratic inquiry is an invitation to radical honesty with yourself. That honesty is not brutal. It's tender because it opens space for growth rather than judgment. Here is the paradox: the more you lean into inquiry rather than frantic doing, the more you expand your capacity to create and sustain meaningful change. SFX, fire_crackle_soft. 3 Let us explore how this plays out in practical terms through a simple exercise of Socratic questioning for your productivity. When facing a daunting task, pause and ask, what is the true purpose of this task? What am I hoping to achieve beyond the surface? Next, query the urgency. Is this truly urgent? Or am I reacting to anxiety, distraction, or external pressure? Then, interrogate your resources. Do I have the energy, focus, and mindset to approach this task effectively? Or am I setting myself up for burnout? Finally, consider alignment. Does this task move me toward my deepest goals, or is it a detour? Through this, your decisions stop being reactive and start being intentional. You wield your productivity like a sculptor, chiseling away distractions to create something meaningful. SFX, slow_toll. 3 What would happen if these questions became your default mode? If before every action, you paused briefly to engage in this dialogue, you wouldn't just be more productive, you'd be more present, more aligned, more alive in your work. Ask yourself, beyond the results, what kind of person do I want to be through my daily actions? Can this question become your new North Star? SFX, thunder_distant. 2 The final piece of Socrates' tenfold productivity strategy is humility. Humility before the unknown, humility to admit that you don't have all the answers. This humility is the soil where curiosity thrives. Do you trust yourself enough to say, "I don't know," and let the question lead you? In this trust lies freedom from the compulsive need to perform and a gateway to flow states where work feels effortless and profound. SFX, birdsong_morning, for before we close. Consider this: your productivity is not a tally of how much you can do, but a reflection of how mindful you are about what you choose to do. Socrates invites you not to multiply tasks, but to multiply wisdom in your doing. What question will you carry today that multiplies not just your output, but your insight and peace? Who are you becoming as you step into this practice? The curious seeker, the gentle challenger, or the wise observer? SFX, soft_wind. 3. Remember, if you're here, if you feel drawn to this way of considering productivity, then something inside you already knows the path forward is through questions, not answers. Through presence, not frantic pace. I want to tell you what to do next. I only offer you this. Linger in the questions Socrates might ask you. Let them shape your next step. And watch how your productivity transcends measure, becoming a dance of meaning and motion. SFX, distant_bull_echo. 3. Thank you for walking this inquiry with me. May your days be filled with questions that multiply your clarity and your courage.